Hello, everyone. Thank you for the warm introduction. My name is Jasmin. I am working as a user experience designer, and I studied communication design in an interdisciplinary environment. And after that, I worked in the agency world for more than 6 years, tackling different projects from branding design, advertising, web and app design, and motion. And I think that's a good reason why I approach things differently, or my style of workflow is a little bit different compared to the other designers in the same field. And 1 year ago, I joined SAP, and together with my dear colleague Alex, I am defining visual styles, how to communicate content, and support our peers with all the visual content they need. And as the title of our presentation gives it away, companies need to foster their creative breed, the designers. And those designers as well need to foster their creativity. And it is nothing new when I tell you that creativity is something you can't come up with on demand. You need to take care of it. You need to get yourself in the right mood. You have to focus on the topic and then broaden your view at the same time. And I like to compare this, activating this creative process, with a door you have to open. And when you walk through this door, you enter a different world. And once you're able to build up this creative force, something like a vortex, you jump right into it and slide down. And then there appear many different things around you, and you get tons of inspiration and ways to come up with new ideas and crazy thoughts and innovation. And that's what I like to show you, how you build up this creative vortex when you're confronted with a task or a problem you want to solve. And throughout this whole presentation, you will hear me come up with ideas to get creative. And I hope those sweet drops of advice will make you smile and will make you think. And maybe they will stick to you like honey does stick to your fingers at the breakfast table, just sweet enough so that you will remember them way after this talk has ended. And now I wish you a lot of fun with our presentation and hand over to Alex.
Oh, yummy. So my name is Alex, and I'm part of the SAP Bulgaria. I've started in 2014 as a framework designer for UI5 controls. I've also been doing product design, and my passion is to explore new tools that make the designer's life easier. I often say that laziness is my superpower because I find quicker ways to solve repetitive and tedious tasks. My bachelor and master degrees are in sculpture, which is pretty uncommon for someone in the tech industries. Artists are often seen as self-centric because they create for themselves. Designers, on the other hand, create for the others. And today I'm going to talk about how to be creative as a designer while pleasing your own aesthetic enthusiasm. And another fun fact about me, I've recently adopted a dog. Her name is Marty, and she's a mixed breed with cinnamon colorings and fluffy ears. She's a perfect hiking companion. When we are at home, she would always lie next to my desk or play with her toys. I have had her for 5 months and learned a lot of exciting things, such as the dog manners depend highly on the environment. During a single walk outside, her behavior can change multiple times depending on whom we met or where we go. She can be curious, playful, or anxious. I also learned to not demand from my dog. I need to wait for the desired behavior and give a reward. She gets tired quickly and loses interest in performing commands. For the training to be successful, I need to mix the workout with some playtime. Chase, tug, fetch, or sniffing games. With that learning, I realized we have a lot in common. Do you know what's common between designers and dogs? Dogs need 2 things to be happy. Obviously, they need foods and treats. This is their salary to behave and be a good dog. They also need to play. to train new skills, and to explore. They quickly get bored by routine. She's unhappy and nervous if she doesn't get enough playtime. The same applies to the designers and all other creatives. Assuming we all get paid reasonably, the missing piece from pure happiness is the fun and creativity in daily tasks. Although Marty eats the same dish every day, she doesn't complain. But she can't stand playing with the same toys. She gets bored. To keep her enthusiasm, I have to introduce new toys now and again and hide the old ones. But enough about dogs. Since I'm here to talk about how to be creative, let's first define what stops us from being creative. There are multiple factors that can restrain our creativity, but once we find and understand them, it's easier to take advantage of those constraints. When designing for digital world, we face a lot of technical restrictions, starting from the obvious physical constraints of the screen. The list grows with the technical feasibility, standards for accessibility, consistency with older products, mandatory support for legacy technologies. And although the technical feasibility often relies on the willingness for collaboration between developers and designers, or maybe product managers, these are not the things that stop us from innovating and being creative. As a former sculptor, I often make parallels between the fine arts and UI design. In sculpture, there are a lot more limitations than you may think. If you're creating something monumental, you have to consider the environment, how to fit stylistically, whether to follow the style of the surroundings or to oppose or create contrast, whether the size of the surrounding buildings and the open area gives enough space and distance for the proper perception of the artwork. And of course, is it physically possible to build your creation in the desired size and material? Before you start, you have to consider the characteristics of the material and the scale of your creation. Different materials like metal, clay, stone, or wood are approached differently. Even different types of stones are approached differently. Marble allows the most delicate details to be created, and further polishing makes it look alive. On the other hand, the granite has a rather rough and cold look, which matches more for the monumental statues. And last but not least, everything is set in stone in sculpture. It stays forever. You cannot fix bugs or update the design to keep up with the trend. Those material characteristics are constraints, but embracing them gives the ultimate freedom to be creative. You may wonder what's the connection between the stones and being a creative designer in the corporate environment. I will answer you with a quote from Pablo Picasso. Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. Understanding the restrictions makes you more creative because you have to do more with less. Understanding the restrictions enables you to separate what restricts you. Understanding the restrictions enables you to separate what restricts you for a reason from the restrictions that are outdated, but nobody admits them. This leads to another limitation, and in my opinion, is the biggest one. This is the team limitation. Some of you may heard about the monkey experiment. Basically, there were 5 monkeys in a cage, and you'll see the rest from the video.
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage and in the middle a ladder with bananas on top. Every time a monkey went up the ladder, the scientists soaked the rest of the monkeys with cold water. After a while, every time a monkey went up the ladder, The others beat up the one on the ladder. After some time, no monkey dare go up the ladder, regardless of the temptation. Scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys. The first thing this new monkey did was go up the ladder. Immediately, the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. A second monkey was substituted, and the same occurred. The first monkey participated on the beating for the second monkey. The replacements repeated until what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received a cold shower, continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder.
And if you could ask the new groups of monkeys why the beatings took place, they would probably answer, well, I don't know. That's just how things are done here. My takeaway from this experiment is to question what exists as a rule. And how often do you question the existing rules?
And let me tell you that you should do it a lot, because creativity is driven by the force of curiosity. You need to be curious and eager to learn new things, gain knowledge, and get some new tools for your toolkit. Be comfortable enough with seeing the world in a different kind of way. For example, call your inner child to come out and play and investigate and compare and ask questions like a child would do. Find out about the what and how and why and so on. That might feel uncomfortable at times, but it helps to gain insight. You will develop a new view on the same situation, inspect design solutions and standards and given opportunities and problems. And you will find out why other people do what they do, and you will be able to come up with many ways to do it differently. For example, when you think about that you press keys on your keyboard or buttons on the glass surface of your display, it is totally different than when you are picking up a pen and paper, because your brain works in a different way. So my advice for you is that you should not underestimate the analog world. Drawing on paper and experimenting and creating loosely is a better way to start fresh, instead of jumping right into the software like Illustrator or Figma, for example, because the software makes you feel like you must work on it imperfectly and everything should be nice and neat, but that doesn't help your creative flow. You need to break free from those chains and those tools the software gives you, because it can feel so overwhelming and intimidating, and that would block your flow of thoughts. So my approach is that one set of tools is enough. It's pen and paper. It is less overwhelming because it is limiting you. And those analog rules are pretty simple, you know, like you can write on the paper and you can draw on it, but you can also fold the paper or rip it, or even like push holes through the paper with your pen. And you see that we are getting creative already. So my advice is ask yourself the question, is there only one way to do things? And you will come up with the answer that there are so many different ways. You might think some of those ways might be odd or unpractical or novelty, but they will be new ways to do things. And especially those will lead us into the future. So my takeaway is take your own approach. You will find the right path. Maybe you don't know the way, but you will be there soon. Analyze and learn and ask questions, and allow yourself some detours too. You do not have to always follow the map or the rules.
Questioning the existing rules or norms will challenge everybody around you to look for alternatives, to think outside the box. But as Jasmin mentioned, creativity and thinking outside the box are not things that you do on demand. But first, let's think, what does it mean to think outside the box. We should answer the question, where is that box and what's inside the box? The box is inside our minds because the box is not our mind, because we cannot think outside our mind. We think outside the boundaries set by the environment. Remember the monkey experiment. Inside the box is safe. There are no beatings. Thinking inside the box is going towards the lesser resistance. And the answers are already inside the box. Creativity is not finding the right answer. Creativity is looking for alternatives because they are outside the box, in the hostile area, where the mistakes are usually punished and not well faced. How does your brainstorming process looks like? During my years in High School of Arts, we had a composition class where we learned the rules of the figural composition. Before drawing the design on the canvas, you must devise multiple sketches on a small piece of paper. Just pencil and paper and your creativity. The teacher taught us one rule: constantly rejecting the first variant. The first draft tends to be very trivial. It works, but usually it's overused or something that we've seen multiple times. The first variant comes from the box. The following variants are alternatives to the first version and are usually more creative. The approach of rejecting the first variant is constructive if you work on a logo design or branding. The first thing that comes to mind while designing a logo or design that has to be unique is something that we've seen multiple times and forgotten, but it still stays in the back of our heads. The most apparent ideas tend to come first. Creative thinking is not looking for alternatives, it's looking for creative thinking is looking for alternatives, not the correct answers. And starting with the white piece of paper reminds me of Pippi Longstocking in school. When the teacher asked her why she's not drawing on her piece of paper, she replied, there isn't room enough for my whole horse on that little snip of paper. And this is my next suggestion: to start big and don't think about boundaries from the beginning. You should care about accessibility and technical feasibility, of course, but it helps significantly if you start creating without limitations. Designing how it should be instead how it's easier to implement adds more creativity. Staying in the box would be just changing the colors of the existing design, making it easy to implement. Going beyond the box challenges the existing design and is bold enough to improve it. SAP released the new theme called Fiori Horizon. It started as a complete redesign. The typography got a huge update. Bold header gave a lot more emphasis on the hierarchy and structure of the content. The usage of vibrant colors and more breathing space around the element makes the overall feeling more contemporary. It was a combined effort by multiple teams. Our team started a parallel exploration of control design. We used our more than 5 years of experience building controls to create a coherent library of controls and patterns, starting from basics like colors, typography, and elevation of elements, and building up to the more complex patterns. Our main goal was not just repainting the existing controls, but to achieve an utterly new look. We decided to design the way it feels right, and if something is impossible technically, to adjust it later. Luckily, we teamed up with the fundamental team, and they've managed to implement the styles in an insanely short time frame. This fruitful collaboration helped implement the new sign-in experience that has over 2 million daily visits.
And when it comes to tasks and projects, we all know that there are limitations, but we can only thrive when we go beyond those, just like Alex showed us in his example. So don't think about the boundaries would be an advice I have for you. You know, humans have no wings, which is why we are not meant to fly. We should not be able to do, right? But we do fly, and we overcame boundaries like gravitation because we were able to imagine. So we overcame the no and said yes to something that was not possible until then. So imagine the following. You are a person and you want to be able to fly. You will be looking at birds or maybe insects with wings, and you wonder how. And there is this idea, which is your creative spark. It identifies that you get inspired everywhere because our world is a complex place and it is just waiting to be discovered by us. I have this graphic for you. It was designed by Neri Oxman. She works as a designer and a professor at the MIT. And these graphics show science and engineering, design and art, and they're all combined to one whole thing. Nothing has boundaries that separates it completely from the surrounding, because every area leaks into another, they influence and they inspire each other. And that's a takeaway. Experiment in different fields. You do not only thrive in one creative lab, you make the world your playground. You have to be flexible and have to be free for your creativity to let flow. So don't let this inner critic get the better of you in the first place. We all know that doubt is there from time to time, and it is there for a reason. It is healthy. We need it. We take a step back. We analyze our work. We look at where we came from and where we're heading with this. And then we filter and we go back to develop new ideas because we trust our process and we take one step after another. So my advice for you is to get inspired everywhere. You have to be productive, you have to collect and produce, and you have to make the world your playground. Interact and communicate so that your peers can grow too. Share your knowledge and nourishing thoughts and ideas.
If fitting in the boundaries of your current setup doesn't feel satisfying, or you need more creativity, just try to think about a project or niche which is not affected by external rules. Like, if you want to find a new territory, start in an unfamiliar place. This could be a hackathon where you combine with other forward-thinking colleagues and work towards innovation and creativity. There are projects or tools developed by individuals or small dev teams as a side project. They would love to have a design support. This is another way to switch the context and play by your rules. If you work in a big company, such as SAP, maybe your location needs a talented designer to help with internal and external communication and PR initiatives. In our team, we volunteered to produce visuals for local hiring campaigns, anniversaries, or company events. This helps to get beyond the boundaries. You don't have to break the existing rules because you can create yours.
So, do you remember the movie The Matrix and the advice Morpheus gives Neo? Morpheus says, free your mind, and Neo is able to dodge bullets and fly. So, free your mind, free yourself, and create your own rules, like hacking the system, you know? You have to be open for the input even in unconventional situations. When you go out there, it is helpful for your creativity to get going. And I really mean go. Take a walk in the park or in the city, attend a concert or visit an art museum, commute by bike instead of train, make your mind and your body work out. And while you're outside there, collect things, pick them up, build a mood board, and don't only browse web pages and copy paste pictures or include text snippets and music or animation because you like the rhythm of it. I mean, like, what about the analog mood board? Remember the pen and paper we were talking about? You will get inspired on a tactile and haptic way because little findings like wrapping paper are in a vivid color, or a cool looking feather, or there's a seed and this form of the seed is inspiring you. Take them with you. And while you are building a mood board, it's important to change the perspective. You have to stand up, look at it, walk around it, and maybe pin and rearrange the elements. And while you're doing it, you can ask yourself the questions: what do those items have in common? Why did I pick them up? And you will make your eyes see things in another way and combine them and compare them. And you can train to identify what is going on and sharpen your view on the world and on the people and also on the places around you. And you can only get creative when you let the world enter your system, you know? You have to activate your creativity with quality content, and you will make your mind jump for joy with all those little snacks you feed it with. So to build up your creative vortex, first you need to soak up this world around you. You have to collect knowledge and moments and ideas, and you have to combine thoughts and tools and crafts. And then you can come up with something new. So this big collection of tools and knowledge is making it easy for you to pick from. And you will be in this concentrated mood. And from this mood, you can enter your own creative vortex. And more practice doing this leads to a faster buildup of this vortex, which makes it easier to tackle creative tasks. So my last advice for you is to build your own vortex, develop your routine, get used to creating on a daily basis, master the creative process, and thrive and innovate.
And since I started with my dog, I'll end up the presentation with another dog. And also the similarity between the dogs and creatives. They always find an alternative solution to the problem. This is my sister's dog, and she is not allowed to get on the couch or bed. And this is how her creativity works. She found how to be half on the bed and still not get yelled at. She understood the restrictions and quickly came up with a workaround. And with that, I would like to wrap up the presentation and to give you some takeaways from today's talk. First, understand the rules so you can master them.
The second will be start analog before going digital.
Then take a step back and look from distance and also change your perspective.
Number 4, be curious and eager to learn new things.
And make creating a daily habit.